Hi everyone, welcome back to session 2 in our retirement planning series. My name is Tony Catt, Director of Catapult Wealth, and today we're just talking about some of the major things you need to consider for your next stage of life and for a successful retirement. And one of the things that we talk a lot about here at Catapult Wealth is that income drives lifestyle, assets don't. And I want to explain a bit around what that means. So we've sat in session 1, we've gone through a bit of, you've started thinking about your goals, you've started thinking about your timelines, and we might have a figure in mind of $70,000 after tax of income that we need to make sure we've got a safe and comfortable retirement. One of the goals that we talk about here at Catapult Wealth is that we need to try and look to get as much of that $70,000 a year from income generating assets. And what I mean by that is that you can have an asset that could be a block of land down at Aldinga with no house on it, or you might have a house on it but you're not renting it out because you're using it for private use. That doesn't help. It's a great asset and it might be worth a lot of money, but it doesn't provide any income to help pay bills on a day-to-day basis. And so when clients come in, we really look at assets, and we tend to start to break assets down in there. You might have rental properties, and residential rental properties will only and assuming you've got no debt at all, will only provide you an income stream of about 2.5% at best on the capital that you've got in there. So to put that into context, if you had a $1 million property in Nord, you're probably, after rates, taxes, agents' fees, repairs, you're probably earning a rental of about $25,000 a year. Different shares provide different income, but the average with the gross yield, when you include the franking credits in the Australian share market at the moment, is probably just a bit north of 4%. Of course, term deposits, because interest rates have gone up, is now between 3 to 4%. Commercial property is anywhere from 5 to 7% now. And these are income numbers and not capital growth. And we've got to try and, we talk with clients about structuring your retirement around trying to generate as much of that $60,000 or $70,000 or whatever your desired income goal is around those income numbers, and be very, very careful about having a lot of capital and a lot of assets, but they might be asset rich and income poor. So that's a major thing we talk about a lot. We then talk about timing. So back to that goal, I just want to really talk about timing again. When the first key date that a lot of clients talk about is age 60. And the reason why we talk about age 60 a lot is that is the first time you pass a condition of release for superannuation. So for most of the generation going through now, and I'm in that bucket, we've had to have compulsory super for the majority of our working lives, which means we've established some sense of a pot of money sitting in the superannuation bucket. The first time you get access to that now is at age 60. So that becomes a little bit of a timeline that people need to take into consideration. The second major date for a lot of the clients that we talk about is age 65. Age 65 is when you can be still working, but you can actually turn all of your superannuation into what we call an account-based pension and have it tax-free on top of your work. And I'll go into more of those details later on. But 65 is the next key date, and probably the only other one that's probably after that is the actual age pension date, which is 67. So at 67, you start getting access to Centrelink benefits. The last key date that we talk to clients now about, and the rules have just changed recently, is age 75. Now there used to be cut-offs of when you could contribute to super, which used to be up to age 65. They then changed the rule with superannuation contributions to 67, and now they've extended it again beyond that to age 75. So there's some key dates there that you need to talk about and think about. Other things that we talk that as you're preparing for retirement or getting into retirement, one thing that you should definitely consider is your insurance policies. When I talk about insurance, I'm talking about life insurance, TPD insurance, income protection insurance, trauma insurance. As you get past age 50, those premiums really start to escalate really fast. And the key premise that we talk about at Catapult Wealth is that ultimately the goal is for all our clients to not have any insurance at all, because that means that you've got a bucket of assets and a bucket of income that should anything untoward happen to you, your spouse, partner, either in any injury or death type situation, you or your family are going to be okay. And that's the goal. But as you get older, past 50, those premiums really start to escalate, and you've really got to keep a very, very close eye on those levels, because they're going to start to eat into and erode your superannuation balances or investment balances. So as you get closer and closer to 60 or get closer and closer to retirement, you should be getting to the point where you're more self-sufficient and you can rely on the bucket of money that you've accumulated over your lifetime, which should mean then you are reducing your insurance and you're taking your insurance backwards or cancelling it altogether to help create cash flow for you to help even bolster your retirement savings even further. So make sure you're really considering your insurance needs in line with your asset growth. The last thing that I think is a major thing to consider for your retirement planning next stage of life issues is probably you start thinking about legacy, start thinking about the kids or the grandkids, you start thinking about how do I want to leave a bunch of money to the kids or the grandkids? Do I want to spend it all and say, hey, you know what, you're getting nothing? But that legacy issue becomes very, very important in the planning aspect, because one of the things that I'll point out is that if you have probably around, let's call it $800,000 between yourself and your partner and in superannuation, and if you want to keep the $800,000 sort of moving along and then leave it as to the kids, you probably could only spend about 40 to 50K per annum of that and ensure that the pot is there for the next 20 or 30 years. No, and that's a ballpark number. You'd have to earn 5 to 7% on that. You're spending that money each year, but you're not taking the capital backwards in any major fashion. If, however, you were wanting to spend more like $60,000 to $80,000 per annum, and if you particularly at the top end of that, $80,000 as a percentage of 800 grand is about 10%. What you're going to find is because the earnings won't match 10% per annum, you'll find your 800 will turn into 750, will turn into 700, which will turn into 650, and so on. And at that sort of income level, you will erode your capital over time. Now, again, that's fine too. If you say, hey, Tony, you know what? I don't care if the kids get what they get is what they get. I want to enjoy my lifestyle. Be very clear about the two options here, and be very clear about what it is you want and what it is you don't want through this phase of your life. And I think that's super important, and then probably communicate that to the kids as well. But there's some of the key things you need to think about amongst a lot of stuff, but don't forget that income drives lifestyle. Have a clear vision of your legacy here. Do a bit of a snapshot on your insurance needs. Understand your asset base and say, where am I asset heavy and income heavy? And really start to think about, have I got my assets structured the right way? The last point that I'll just touch on today is that don't forget that everyone is allowed in superannuation, it looks like a large number, $1.7 million. You can all have up to $1.7 million in superannuation each per person, and then when you retire, that money that you get from is tax free. So the pot in the middle, any income that it earns, any capital gains it earns is tax free. The money you take out is tax free. The lump sums you take out are tax free. It is an unbelievably good vehicle for saving for your retirement. I've said it for 30 years, and I reckon I'll say it for 30 more if I last that long in my career. But superannuation is a very good vehicle for generating a good retirement income stream, and it's certainly something you've got to start thinking about. Thanks for your time. Look forward to catching up with you all in session 3.